Micheal. It's good to have you on the show today. What do you think you want to share with our viewers today? What would be the aim of therapy for you, do you think?
So we spoke about the pressures on men in today's society, expectations, maybe just the traditional pressures, but also the new pressures that are put onto them by social media, and just generally the times that we're living in.
Okay. I think you were saying that you wanted to kind of talk about the men in your life, and I think that's a really interesting way to start our session today. So tell me about the men in your life and what you'd like to share with us.
I think I've had some good role models in my life. I would say that they are a combination of both the ones in like actual real life, as in a father, a grandfather, a stepfather, certain teachers that I had growing up, and then also the ones that were not directly in my life, such as like role models, the Malcolm X's and the Farrakhan's and these kind of people. And I think I've been very intentful about using these people as examples of what a man is and putting them all together into something that I could use.
And when you say what you could use, what do you think you've taken from them? So if we start with your dad, or
I think when it's all said and done, I've taken a very stoic look on what a man is. I don't really see too much complaining. I see men that try very hard. I've seen men that fail, but don't necessarily let life make them fold up. They carry on, they keep going, they're trying to find a way.
Sounds like resilience. Okay. What do you think, when you look at society today, how do you think society are shaping our men? What do you think?
I think younger men are much weaker than the men of the past because they have too much opportunity, too much available to them, so they don't have to fight for opportunity as much. They don't have to fight for the things that they need. There's a lot of ways out. It's very easy to look like you're a certain way rather than actually being that way. So I would say that makes people weak, because you don't really have to be in real life. You know what I mean? It's enough to just look like it socially. But for me personally, from a very young age, it was, I knew for me, I wanted it to be very real. I'm not interested in fabrication. And there was always a long-term vision that time will tell. And when I was young, the idea was like, by the time I'm like 25, I don't want to be washed up. Then it became, by the time I was 30, I don't want to be washed up. Now I'm thinking like 40, 50 and 60. Because I know people that are 50, 60 and even beyond that. And they're still here, but they're struggling. And I realized, actually, you know what, life is relatively long. Life is long enough. But it's extra long if you're not using it wisely.
Can you talk a little bit about just your journey of who you are today, just a little bit? Like, would you say that you're a successful individual then? If so, what would you say, this is what makes me successful?
I think success is relative. Compared to where I've come from and where I'm started, yes. But in the real world, in the scheme of things, no.
Okay.
I think I've got a long way to go. I'm not going to kid myself into thinking that like I've smashed it or I've done amazingly well, because it's all relative. It's all relative, and I don't want to fool myself into thinking I've done better just based on where I'm from. We come from I'm not saying we, I'm not sure what your background is, but generally people like myself, we come from not a low place in terms of like
a harder upbringing.
Yeah.
Tougher upbringing than some.
Yeah, we just have low income backgrounds, just to say that. But low income means low income. You know what I mean? Reliant on benefits and all these kind of things there. So in the scheme of things in the real world where you have multi-billionaires and all these kind of things there, some people don't even believe these kind of places exist. So successful in terms of where we're starting, yes, but I don't measure myself against that yardstick. I measure myself on a world stage, and there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. Okay. It feels like you're quite headstrong. Where do you think that comes from?
A lot of adversity. Definitely a lot of adversity. I think that I started on the back foot quite early. Not saying I had the worst start. Definitely good parents, done the best for me. I wouldn't say I came from a wildly chaotic background or anything like that. But for me, it was enough to be difficult. And there was a lot of things to deal with. Had my son quite early, which kind of prevented me from really just taking a normal route that most young people my age was doing.
Do you think your son helps you to be more centered and focused?
100%. 100%. He helped me to be centered and focused from like 18, 19, because it was a choice. Either I am not going to look after him and just do my thing, or I'm going to look after him and still do my thing. So that was the option. So it made me have to be extra. I had to go above the normal, because I wasn't going to. I don't like settling. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna struggle now because I need to provide for a child and provide for his mother and all that kind of stuff. No, we're not gonna do that. It means I have to do double the amount that a normal person my age is doing.
Sounds like a lot of pressure. Is there pressure? Is it pressure for men to kind of think that way, or is it just natural and organic?
I don't think it's natural and organic for everyone.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the conditioning. I think it depends on what people have seen and what they consider to be normal.
For you?
For me, from a very, very early age, was seeking greatness. And being in difficult situations and folding up and not being able to rise to that occasion is not greatness. So we have to display that. I look at life like a game, like a test. And I really believe that myself and just us as a people being black people, come from greatness that we don't even know. But it's in us. And I look at this life as almost like a test, just like if you are who you think you are, then prove it, show it, display it. And that's what I try to do. And I knew that from a very young age. So there's something else that really pushes me to think like this. It's not.
What is that thing that makes you have that kind of perspective, that pushes you, that attitude of life's a game and I'm here to win? And
I think it's knowledge of self. It's knowledge of self. It's knowing how great you really are and how disappointing it would be to live a life not even knowing or not even fulfilling those, not necessarily expectations, but those abilities.
Not to live in regret.
Yeah. I'm not gonna live on. We're gonna when we're gone, we're leaving everything on the tip. Like there was nothing left in the tank.
Sounds brave and courageous. Is it?
I don't know if brave and courageous is the word that I would use, but it's a life of purpose. It's definitely a life of purpose. And when we can't live in a cowardly way.
And we'll come back to the courageous part, I think, later towards the end, because I think making certain decisions takes courage, you know, not to live in regret, because a lot of people in my profession should have, could have, would have, you know. And what I'm hearing is actually there's something within you that's saying, I'm going to be the best. And those are my words, but that's what I feel like you're saying. And you sound really driven. Okay, so what's the limitations to... I'm saying driven. It sounds like you're really driven and focused. And, you know, what's the limitations to being that? Is there any, Michael?
Can you rephrase what you mean? What do you mean by limitations?
So I always think, like, when we have strengths, so you sound like you're focused, you're driven, but that might come at a cost. Relationships, time. Do you get where I'm going? So sacrifices, perhaps.
Yes, I'm getting better with it now, but relationships have struggled in the past.
What kind?
Just all relationships, really.
Okay.
Because I was quite extreme from a young age. Extreme in the sense where I knew how important it was to be strong, financially, mentally, spiritually, physically. I was aware of how important it was to be strong, and it was there was no two ways about it. How do I put it? Like, I knew how important it was to be strong because I knew what I was trying to achieve, and I was very aware of what this world can do. And I wouldn't say I made the mistake, but I tried to relay that to others and have others have the same level of urgency as me. But not everyone's trying to do all of that. Not everyone cares. Not everyone wants to know. Not everyone wants to care. And I spent a lot of time trying to, like, loved ones, the people around me, and that, like, yo, the roof is on fire, the sky is falling. And it's like, yo, stop, man, just chill. What's wrong with you, man? Like, you're going too far, you're doing too much. And it, you know, you can alienate people in that way. And I still feel that way, but I have the balance now. I understand, like, it's not for everyone. That's cool.
So alienate in the sense of, what do you withdraw because you're just on your journey, you might not see them, or what do you mean alienate?
So alienate as in you might push people away. You might push people away because you're considered to be too much, too extreme, hard to deal with, radical in your views, just all of the above. And it's just not something that most people, a lot of people want to deal with, or, you know, it's not necessarily nice. Doesn't mean I was wrong. It doesn't mean they was wrong either. It's just, it's not for them. Everyone is different. Everyone has a different path.
So with the alienation, you learnt to have balance, so you don't do that no more. Is that what you're saying? You're not extreme. I'm
still the same way, but I'm the same way with people I know I can be the same way with. So they would have to show me how serious they are before I saw them how serious I am. If they just want to chill, okay, we'll chill. I ain't going to chill that much. But that's what you're about. That's fine. That's fair enough. I respect you for that. But if you're serious, then we're building. But I like relationships where we can build. I'm not trying to chill. I don't necessarily need... it needs to be a two-way situation, because I feel like it's a situation where if you're a part of my life, I'm going to add value. I'm 100% going to add value. And maybe I've got a lot to learn. Maybe I'm still ignorant to what value is, because my value is still very much, we're going to build you up. whatever your dreams are, we're going to figure it out. We're going to make it happen. There's fun involved, but fun at the appropriate times. But I find that a lot of people, I'm not speaking about anyone in particular, just a lot of people, they settle, they accept what they believe they are worth, but it's because a lot of the time they don't know what they're worth. That's why they'll go and work a job and just get a wage and struggle.
What do you think that is about that kind of way of being? Is it society that contributes to that, or
100%? It's by design.
It's what? Sorry?
It's by design.
By design.
It's by design. It's supposed to be that way. If we all knew our value, then how would this system that we live in work? Someone needs to be controlled. Someone needs to be like it's a system of slavery or servitude. That's what it is. Not everyone can be king or nobility or high class. That's how it's been designed. You need to be able to give people a few pennies to keep the wheels turning. But now we're going into a society of people being aware of their value with the age of intelligence and the internet and artificial intelligence. People are now seeing, actually, I don't need to slave for £10 an hour. I can make £100 an hour quite easily. And then now the system's going to collapse on itself because too many people are aware of their value. So let's bring that back down or make the money that they're getting less valuable. It's just what it is. But then this is, before, I wouldn't be able to explain it in this way, and it would seem more extreme, like, it's life or death. You have to get your money in. You have to.
Okay.
And
what's mellowed you down then? Is that maturity?
Knowledge. I wouldn't call it maturity. More knowledge of myself, more knowledge of the world, the ability to speak better. Because the reality is, there could be someone half my age saying the same thing. There are kids half my age saying the same thing. They know now. But when I was 18, there wasn't none of this. There wasn't social media or anything like that. It was just me knowing something internally, my intuition, and saying,
this ain't right.
This ain't right. In fact,
thinking out the box.
Yeah. Not only is this not right, never mind all that, I got the solution. You need to get your money up. You need to be strong. You need to, and everyone's, all he cares about money. It's not about the money. I'm trying to say it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about freedom. It's about your life. But it doesn't come across that way. When people hear you need to get money to be okay, it just sounds like, let me move away from that. Like, especially when people, not everyone is that confident in their ability to raise large amounts of money. So it rubs them up the wrong way. It might irritate their spirit almost, because it seems a bit like, money's evil in that way. But I never looked at it that way. Which to me is just more of a, we need to just realize our true value so we can live freely. But I couldn't explain that when I was younger.
But you can now. Okay.
Yeah, I can now.
Okay. So you sound kind of, I think I heard you say Malcolm X, Farrakhan, and where are they now in your life, or where are you with that kind of knowledge?
For me, it's just about knowledge of self. I love myself and I love my people, but I'm not necessarily like throwing up a black fist. And I'm not radical. I'm not radical. I'm not radical at all. Some of the closest people to me.
But sometimes when you talk in that way, it may be perceived.
Definitely. That's why I like to just be very clear. Like I'm not radical in any way. Like, for me.
But I don't think there's nothing wrong with saying you love something.
No. Loving yourself does not mean you're radical.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you hate anyone else.
Yeah.
That's nonsense. And for me, it's more about the person. Because you can get hate, you can get abuse, you can get negativity from anyone of any shade or any background. It's just about the people. I'm into building real connections with real people, regardless of who they are or where they're from. And for me, I would never want to put the kind of negativity that's been on us onto anyone else for any reason. It's more about what can you bring to the table and what can we do together to build, and how can I help you and your goal, and how can you help me and my goal. And if we can't help each other, God bless you, it's no problem, but I don't know how much time we can spend together. I don't know how much time I have on this planet, so we need to be working.
Okay. So we started this conversation, this bit where we are now, we're talking about limitations. And is there any other limitations that you think you have?
No, I'm not going to say that. There's things I can develop on and grow on, but I'm not going to say I have any limitations. No way. I just probably don't know everything I need to know, but I will. I will. Naturally, as I keep moving in the direction that I'm supposed to be heading in, I'll get the information I'm supposed to get. So I wouldn't call it limitations. When it's time to know, I'll know.
Okay. Anything else you want to kind of share?
Just going back to the pressures put on men.
Yeah.
I think that's I think it's difficult, man. I've definitely struggled with that, because it's just like, bloody hell, there's a lot. Well, I don't know actually.
Go on, because I'll say there's a lot,
Yeah, I don't know, because there's a lot of women that are just doing great by themselves. I would say women are probably, it looks like women are doing better than men.
I think we need to have some women on here, but yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we make it look that way sometimes. I'm sure there are women that are doing great, and I think...
I guess it comes with its own problems, though.
That's right.
If they're being too masculine or not living in their feminine, then that's bound to have some...
especially if you're independent or...
Yeah, it's not supposed to be that way. It's not supposed to be that way. But then men have been so broken down that I can understand why as well.
And what I find with women is that they've got this story, you know. I think in the UK it's this fairy tale. Do men have that perspective, like, I'm the breadwinner? I feel like we're conditioned with our toys, how we play as children, to have this kind of role. And I think from women's perspective, I think a lot of women don't check themselves. Like, life isn't like that. It's okay if a man lacks in a certain area. It's something that you might need to grow towards. Do you know what I mean? And some women just want it all, and they want that fairy tale and focused on the wedding. And but do you think men have that?
To be honest, I don't even know what men are supposed to. To this point, I don't really know what is supposed to be. Like, it was never told to me. My parents never said to me, this is what a woman's supposed to do and this is what a man's supposed to do.
Okay.
I don't know. For me, I've always taken a traditional approach, more based on like grandparents. All right, I will provide. Well, I'm expected to provide more. I'm expected to make up for the shortfalls. I'm expected to discipline children. I'm expected not to really moan or complain about much. And I'm expected to be there for the woman. That's it.
Is that pressure?
Yes. Because it's not realistic.
Because
it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable because like, in order to do that, a woman really has to do quite a bit to make sure that the man's mental state is managed so that he can keep doing that. But then women are not necessarily, not in this side of the world anyway, not necessarily trained to do that. Trained from birth. Men are supposed to be trained and women are supposed to be trained, as far as I'm concerned. And in other countries, more in like the East, Africa and onwards, you see that. But not here. But then you got the feminist movement and all these kind of things that break those kind of cycles, because they were at one point. But like I would say, our grandparents' era was probably the last of that, but they weren't even from here. But when they came
and
here,
I think they also might have had issues with, say, nurturing one another and feeding. Not all, but
well, that's what I'm starting to see now.
I think our grandparents, you know, they had kids with different.
When you're young and you like grandparents been married like 50 years and all that, it sounds like a fairy tale. But then when you get a bit older, you start realizing, hang on, it weren't even really like that. And actually, that child ain't for the same parents. And in fact, why are you even here anyway? What was you running from? You fight like
you left who, where?
Exactly.
You sent for who, when? We're laughing, but that's the reality of some of our grandparents.
But no one ever talks about it.
But they'll say they never had contraception, which, fair enough. But some of our grandparents were scandalous, and some of them were just amazing. And not to say that's even scandalous, because that's how it was, but I think we have to be mindful of their journey, you know, that Windrush generation, what they went through. And
yeah, and that's cool. But what I'm seeing is they're human. Like, they make mistakes too. It wasn't like, nah, we get married for 50 years and that's it. Everything's jiggy. No.
And you have to get married and work your way up.
Yeah. So I feel like there should be more discussions around what's realistic in a relationship. Like, I'm seeing more like people talk about things like polygamy and all these kind of things there now. But
what's your thoughts on that?
I get it.
Okay.
I can understand it. I think it's a bit far away from how I've grown up. But if that works and everyone, and it's fair, then I get it.
And it works for some.
I can understand it. What I don't know is how well monogamy works in this society anymore. Because there's just so much influence. There's so much temptation.
That's the difference. I think the young generation, I'm scared for them. They've got real different values.
Yeah, I'll raise my son and my daughters differently now. I'm definitely going to have very real conversations with them to make sure that they're prepared for this society. And I feel like I've been through enough to kind of guide them through it a little bit better. But I never, that wasn't really a part of
what you had.
No. So I want to make
sure. But you feel you need to do that with yours?
100%. We are going to do that. Okay. They're not going to make the same mistakes. They're going to be able to navigate through very neatly and nicely if they just listen. But I'm not going to tell them anything that they probably won't want to listen to. And I feel like I'm close enough to their vibration that they'll be able to hear me.
So let's get back to your great point about the pressures of men. Do you think men talk about that enough? Do you guys have these conversations?
We do, I would say. But us talking to each other, it almost probably becomes a bit of an echo chamber where it's a good area to vent whenever that opportunity comes. But then at the same time, is anything going to change when you're talking to each other?
So what's the common themes that come up, if you could share what men talk about from your observation?
To be honest, my conversations with the people I talk to may be a little bit different from what other people talk about. Because to be honest with you, most of my conversations are just about like how we're leveling up, how we're getting to the next level. Like,
but is that pressure?
No, that's a fun conversation.
Yeah,
that's a fun conversation because we're talking about opportunities. We're talking about execution. We're talking about what could go well. What could we do better? So
when you say you see pressure that men have, we're looking outside of your circle, because it feels like, are you saying that you and your guys don't really feel the pressure? You just glide through it now, or?
I would say pressure more so applies when you have outside stress on you, but you don't have a way out. You can't move. It's pressing down on you, and you don't know where to go.
Feel stuck.
But once you start having more information and more options, it becomes more like a game where now you're just seeing how well you can execute and get to the next level.
So do you think men need to have more open conversations? Like, I know like in the Nigerian culture, so the Ibu tribe, they meet up once a month, the men, and they talk about what jobs are available in Birmingham, the issues that they face.
I like that.
They pay money into something. Like if someone dies, they can send them home. We don't, well, I can't speak for men, but I'm assuming, I've not heard that we have monthly meetings for men to talk about and come together and unite and talk about this. Because I think this is why we're doing this show. Your problem, someone else can resonate and be like, oh, yeah, that was me. I can learn from that. And what you're saying, you sound like you're one of the elders. You've gone through certain things in life. The young'uns would benefit richly from some of your opinions and advice or guidance. So do you think that's something that men need to do more of, perhaps?
100%. I feel like we are getting more into that space now. That's definitely something that I want to put together as well. I have one or two friends that are doing that. A friend of mine, he has like almost like a quarterly meet up, which is cool. I try to get to that as much as possible, but I am seeing more spaces opening up for peers, younger and older, to meet up and have conversations. But I feel like it just needs a little bit more direction now. So that's something that's just on my mind. Like, all right, how do I bring it all together and be a part of a movement?
Okay, you do the men and I'll do the women. Let's do groups.
Yeah, I'm for it, man.
I love that. Okay. So men need to talk more, I think. I think women, we talk all the time. We'll call the girls up. I'm not saying men don't talk at all, but I think my experience in therapy is that when men come to me, they keep everything in. They don't think their friends want to hear certain vulnerable parts of their story. And I think what happens is men tend to stack all these thoughts and feelings and emotions, and then sometimes it can be quite explosive and toxic for themselves and others. So I really think that men do have a lot of pressure from society, and there isn't really much places that they can vent safely and have an outlet or guidance. And therapy, not a lot of people, especially men, don't tap into it, unfortunately.
I just don't realise the benefit of it. I don't know. I think therapy is good, but men also need to just be men. And at the very core of it, we're hunter-gatherers. We need to kill something and eat it. And if you can't kill something and eat it, then you're gonna feel weak. You're not gonna feel like yourself. I think men need to learn how to get out there and go and get it, because half the problems that they're facing they wouldn't be facing it if they had the resources that they need.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we do repetitive cycles as well. Like, we should know we shouldn't be doing certain things because our fathers, our grandfathers already done it, and I think we're repeating certain cycles. So yeah, I think that needs to happen. So who do you go to for support and guidance or clarity on things, do you think? Do you have a mentor?
There are people that are a bit further along than me, that where possible I'll take them out for dinner and we'll go out for lunch and all that kind of stuff, that we'll talk, and I'll get a few gems like that. I take in a lot of information from books, audio, YouTube and all that kind of stuff there, so digital mentors. But a lot of the answers are just internal. I've gotten more into mindfulness and meditation. Not meditation like sitting in a dark room cross-legged, but meditation as more getting away like devices and stuff like that. So I was even late to this because I went to the spa, but after a swim, sauna, like I spend a lot of time. I can't. It's just me and myself. I can't use any devices or anything like that. So after about 30, 45 minutes of that, and me just thinking, what is the problem? How can I move forward? How can I move forward? The answer's gone. And I feel like just more quiet time where someone is with themselves would do more for them than trying to look outwards for the answers.
I love that. I think because I call that thinking. It's actually, people don't think or know how to think, and I find we're so busy with life and just plodding along and getting up like a slave. We think that's living, and sometimes we just need to pause and stop, and the way that you do that is in moments of what you've just explained, Michael. Just chilling with yourself, and the thoughts will come, and you begin to kind of talk to yourself almost.
Must be alright. Be alright with being by yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So you listen to yourself. Is that something that, well, it sounds like it's something that you've always done. You've always listened to yourself.
Yeah, I listen to myself. I've been my own person. I'm not really influenced by others.
How do you know how to listen to yourself? I know that might sound a little bit odd.
We know what's right and wrong, though. We know what's right for us.
How do we know?
Because you have that intuition. If you're doing something and you know you're not following yourself, you're following someone else, you're not following yourself.
Is there a feeling that might be embodied that you could explain to the viewers? So say, for example, if I'm feeling anxious, not to say anxious all the time is a bad thing, because I might be anxious for an interview that I want to get. I might feel it in my stomach, like little flutters. So when you say you have a feeling or you listen to yourself, is there a sense of something that you feel where you're like, yeah, this is me?
Speaking on what you called anxious, like there's a lot of times when I suffer from anxiety.
Okay.
Very seriously. What helps me to deal with it is making sure that I'm working towards my higher purpose. Whatever my bigger goal is, whatever my next level is, doing something that works towards that goal. So I'll write like A4 pages of to-do lists every couple of days. Some things big, some things small. But I've always got something to do towards that goal. If I don't do something towards that goal, anxiety comes. I keep the anxiety at bay by making sure I am ticking something off that list.
How do you feel the anxiety? How do you experience your anxiety?
It can be very physical. Very physical. Like
explain that to me.
Almost like a panic attack.
Where do you feel that in your body?
Everywhere.
Hold me a little bit more.
Everywhere. Struggle to breathe. Very, very difficult. Mind racing. All those kind of things there. It happens less now because I've started to look after myself a lot more, and I've started to spend more time understanding my thoughts. And I've got a clear direction of where I need to go. There's always something I can do that's meaningful to move me in the direction. But it's when you don't know, like at the end of the day.
Is that when your anxiety kind of kicks in, do you think, when you don't know?
Yeah, when you don't know, that's the pressure.
But when you do know, do you get anxiety?
I think there's two types of anxiety.
Okay.
There's the anxiety that is the crushing anxiety because you don't know what to do and you can't explain it and you're confused. And then there's the anxiety that is like, maybe I'm using the wrong term, but the anxiety that is almost like a child that is waking up because they know they got the school trip.
That sounds like excitement.
Excitement, then. Let's use the word
excited.
excitement. Because you can still get the nuts in your belly because you're excited. You're excited. Or
but you just know it's two different anxieties.
It's two different things, so you can call it excitement. There are times when I didn't know what I was going to do and I'd wake up with the anxiety. But most of the time, I'll wake up with the excitement. I want to wake up quick and get this thing moving quick because I like what I do.
Okay, do you think you live for those moments then of excitement, that feeling? Because I think it's really important to describe how we feel, because everyone talks about this thing, anxiety, but people experience it differently. So when it's a limiting anxiety, because I don't really like to use the word negative, because I think anxiety is so important. In fact, it tells us we need to do the damn thing. Do you know what I mean? Do you think it steers you in that way? And I just want you to describe a little bit more the physical feeling of a negative anxiety. I know you said you feel it all over your body, but do you feel it in your chest?
In my chest.
In your chest?
In my chest, 100%.
Does it beat? Does it stop? Is it still? Does it move?
It's like a suffocating feeling.
Okay.
It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. Very uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable. The first time I was able to like really identify it was I was looking after a young person. It's when I first got into social care, and this young person, like literally paranoid schizophrenia, bipolar, and he was very high needs, and he needed they only put him on 5 hours a day of support, but really he needed 24 hours. He really should have been 2 to 1, but I was working with him. But I was working with it like I haven't worked in like for anyone else in over like a decade. It was no, never.
Okay.
This was under my care.
Okay.
I had an arrangement to look after this young person under my own company. But like he would go through these things. He would like just like go through like episodes where we would have like serious breakdowns. And then there was one time where this is the first time I really felt it, when he said something to me or he did something and I could understand how he felt. And when I understood how he felt, I began to feel like that. And that's the first time I had like a panic attack, because I got very, like I was close to him. We was with each other for about 6 months. And prior to that, then maybe I've had these things, but I couldn't identify it.
Yeah.
But when I saw and felt what he felt, I was like, oh my God, this is it. And I was like, this is a lot to handle. Like this was oh God, this must have been about 5 years ago now.
A panic attack, what's the feeling with that? Because that's slightly different than anxiety.
No, it's
panic attack's quite intense, right?
Yeah, it was intense. It's intense.
Is there a feeling of something stuck in your throat, or you can't breathe, or you feel a bit fearful?
I think it's everything. It's everything. It's just like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't explain it. It's just, why is this happening? You're trying to breathe. You can't now forget that. It's not happening. No, it's a lot. Yeah. But it's because I know it's because of what I'm trying to achieve. And then it's not so much now. I'm kind of in control. I am in control now. But while I was leading up to this point, maybe in like the last, like just to go back about 12 months, probably at least 6 months ago, the last time I had a panic attack. But I'm trying to do a lot. I'm trying to do a lot. I'm not even trying to do a lot. I am doing a lot. And there's a hell of a lot of responsibility in what I'm doing, which is why like I take my health and fitness so much, because my body has to be. That's what really encouraged me more so to take my health and fitness seriously, because I'm like, I'm not gonna let this break me down. No way. Like I felt like it felt
like that's what it was doing.
It felt like like the stress, like waking up, like how the hell am I gonna tick all of these boxes? How am I gonna like?
So these are the pressures.
Yeah. How am I gonna do this?
So when you say how the hell, because your life was geared up in a certain way, it became too much at certain points.
I wouldn't say it was too much, because it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. At the end of the day, the person I am now would not be stressing over the things that I was then. So it was never too much. It was me.
And your mindset
and my mindset at that time.
Yeah. Because that's what I think the trigger is to anxiety. And thanks for sharing that, Michael, because I think everyone's anxiety is different. And when anyone talks about anxiety, I'll always home in and say, how do you feel it in your body? Because I think it's really important for people to identify what that is. And I think what you've just said has just touched a chord for me where what you think impacts how you feel. And I think your mindset back then, you wasn't aware of that. You wasn't aware of how powerful your mind was. Hence why perhaps you would have panic attacks. You went where that young man went, which perhaps was a dark place. He's not well. You probably feared something for him, and that made you feel that in that moment.
Yeah, I thought, am I going to go mad? am I going to lose my mind? Like I don't know what happened. It was just aligned
So if
for
you was
that
to
time.
explore your thoughts, at that time you're thinking, am I going to go mad? Now, if you're thinking that, that's not a good thought. That's going to make your heart skip a bit. We're speaking that into our essence. So you're not going to feel good. So I think it's important to realise, if I'm experiencing anxiety or a panic attack, check what I'm thinking. Go to the window and start breathing. Yeah. Remove yourself from whatever the situation is. Just center yourself, just breathe. And I think meditation for me is deep breathing. I don't think we know how to breathe properly. Do you know anything about that? Breathing.
Not so much, but I know we're probably going to wrap this up now, but I realised, I've identified that my anxiety is tied to the well-being of others. So it's not necessarily financial. I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I get angry letters from debts people, just like everyone else. I get the phone calls, but that's never really bothered me because I was able to deal with that from young.
But it's other people.
It's other people. So with what I do in health and social care, the people that are under my care probably think I don't care, but I really do. Like I want to know that they're okay. So I started suffering when something would happen at a property. There might have been a suicide attempt. There might have been someone trying to hurt themselves. Yeah. There might have been one of my staff isn't doing well. Like that's something I can't control. When it comes to things like finance and money and all that kind of stuff, that I know it's just a case of, it's a game. It's a game. I know how far they will go. I know what I need to do to make more money. I know what I can do to do more. But when it comes to people, they're not a number. They're like, there's so many variables that you can't control. Like I sleep with like 2 phones.
That you can't control.
You can't control that.
So maybe our next session is about looking at control, because that's out of your control, and how other people affect your mental well-being, and trying to perhaps find a way of releasing yourself from that best you can. And looking at what you do already and why that's not enough to ease your anxieties.
My anxiety is a lot less now. It's being eased. We're finding some solutions for that. Okay. But that was a problem. That was definitely a problem.
Okay. So we're going to wrap up our session today. Is there anything else you want to say before we end?
No.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you for sharing, Michael. I think what stood out for me from this session is the pressures that men are faced with. When you want to be successful or just being a man, it's just tough. And I think what I've got from you is your determination, your perseverance, and I think the love of others. That's what stands out. Thank you for today's session. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.